Adtech moves fast. Yesterday's innovation is today's warm-up act. Welcome to Legends of Adtech, the podcast where we go beyond the buzzwords and straight to the people at the cold face of digital adtech. Every 2 weeks, we sit down with the industry's boldest thinkers, pioneers and disruptors to find out how they're rewriting the game. This is their story.
Welcome back to Legends of Adtech, the podcast that lifts the lid on the people, the power plays and the predictions shaping our industry. I'm Julia Linehan, CEO and founder of The Digital Voice.
And I'm Casey Pass. This season, we're speaking with 6 past winners of The Wire's AdTech Personality of the Year. Today's guest is someone who knows exactly how to command attention, on stage, online, and everywhere in between.
We're talking, of course, about the one and only Paul Gubbins, who's VP of Sales and Programmatic Partnerships at Tubi and a long-time force in the programmatic world. So from Verizon to PubMatic to launching Publica in EMEA to now scaling the world's biggest free streaming service, Tubi. Paul's career is nothing short of a masterclass in momentum.
And in this episode, we unpack the art of attention, how to build visibility, credibility, and community in an ever-changing landscape, and why standing out is about more than just being loud.
That's enough from us. We could go on, couldn't we, Casey, introducing Paul, but that's enough from us. Let's get into it. Paul, welcome to Legends of Adtech.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome, but you might not say that when I give you your first challenge. Somehow you've got to do this, Paul, as you have got to give us your who you are and how you got here in 60 seconds or less. Are you ready for that challenge?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to give it a try.
Go for it.
Okay. Many years ago, I started out working in small niche consumer magazines, titles like Classic Tractor, where I ran the classified section, had to call farmers when they were out in the field, get them to advertise in our magazine versus Farmers Weekly. From Classic Tractor, I worked my way up to consumer magazines. From consumer magazines, I moved into regional press, titles like the Belfast Telegraph. From regional press, I joined national press, titles like the Daily Telegraph. From the Daily Telegraph, I got my first job in digital ad sales, working for Thomson Reuters. From Thomson Reuters, I joined what was then one of the largest ad networks and one of the first ad networks in the UK, a company called Unanimous. From Unanimous, I was lucky enough to then go and help build out the first mobile DSP, a company called StrikeAd. From StrikeAd, I then was lucky enough to go and work in a bunch of different leadership roles on both the buy and sell sides in different ad tech companies. And fast forward to today, you're absolutely right. I'm helping one of the largest streaming services in the world, Tubi, to launch and expand our services in the UK to TV audiences.
I'm curious, Paul, because I started in '95 at Dennis Publishing, and I've obviously known you a long time. How many years have you been in the industry, and how long did all that take?
Oh, I would say 17 odd years, give or take.
Yeah, you've packed it in. Wow.
And it was really like the traditional route, right, Julia? It was from those smaller magazines through that kind of process of learning your craft in classified sales through to display sales, then in the latter years into the digital space.
So across all those different areas, Paul, what first grabbed your attention with the ad tech industry and made you want to sort of join that side?
Well, I always really enjoyed selling, and selling for me has always been about telling stories and building rapport and relationships with people, and that's never been more important in ad tech. It's a very fragmented ecosystem. It can be a very confusing ecosystem, and to many marketeers who aren't experts in ad tech, and to many agencies who aren't necessarily experts in ad tech, they like to communicate with commercial leads or BD leads that can tell them compelling stories as to why their technology is a good fit for their brand, and more importantly, why the technology is a good fit for the outcomes that they're looking to achieve. And that's what I really enjoyed, and that's why I've been drawn to ad tech for the last, I guess, 12 or 13 years, because lots of ad tech can look very similar, but you need to be in a position to tell compelling stories, take people on a journey, and really bring your product team's roadmap to life to help the company that you represent really differentiate in a very crowded market.
I love that. And I love how you talk about simplifying a lot of ad tech, because that can be so complex. But I'm curious to know, of all those roles that you've had across all those different sectors, what would you say has been the most challenging and why? Even if it wasn't necessarily ad tech, but any that felt like a particular challenge.
I'm so curious to hear what you're going to say, Paul.
Yeah.
There's been two that have really stood out. The first was StrikeAd. That was a mobile demand side platform back in 2010. My remit really was to go into all of the UK advertising agencies and try to sell them on the concept of trading mobile programmatically. This was at a point in time when big mobile ad networks were dominant. They were delivering fantastic results, but there was a more efficient way for the agencies to actually buy in-app inventory, and that was through programmatic platforms like DSPs. So I was really creating a market from the ground up and trying to convince big established agencies, independent agencies as to why they should transition away from opaque ad network models and invest into transparent DSPs. The other one was really when I helped to launch Publica in Europe. Again, they were an ad server at a point in time when there were very large established ad servers in the market supporting the needs of publishers. Lots of people were like, Paul, I don't get it. Why would you work for an ad server? The world doesn't need another ad server. But slowly, over a period of time, as we got more streaming services and TV manufacturers to test our capabilities, it became much easier to upsell them on the Publica features. So both very challenging roles because they were both pioneers at that particular point in time. But I think both cases illustrate it doesn't matter how crowded a market is, if you can differentiate through product and storytelling, you can still win if you've got a good team.
Do you know what's interesting though, Paul, is that you mentioned two things there. It's about differentiating and storytelling. And one of the things that you are brilliant about and you're well known for is that you make full use of LinkedIn. I mean, my God. And I think that's the power of, I think people know that you're in safe hands if you give Paul even a challenging role or challenging launch or challenging company. Because you're able to use LinkedIn as a powerful tool and you've got such a big following on there. I'm curious though, what's been your best performing LinkedIn post and why? And please tell me it's one of your infamous polls.
No, that's a really good question. And I had to look earlier as well because I was unsure, but it was actually when Publica got acquired by Integral Ad Science. Again, because I think the market had seen I've been very visible in telling the story around differentiated ad serving capabilities and why an ad server built from the ground up around streaming was more valuable than ever before. And I think when I posted that we had been acquired, there was a huge amount of kind of positive sentiment in the market talking about how it was a great strategic acquisition by IAS. Everybody could understand the value that Publica was bringing. And again, I think that's because I'd spent the best part of 5 years telling that story very visibly in market and helping to bring other streaming services on that journey with us and with the Publica development team. So yeah, that post did very well.
I see. It's interesting though, is that because LinkedIn is not right now a friend on company pages. It's the algorithm is playing havoc with for people's ability to grab attention. It's not necessarily individuals. In fact, it's going more B to H and focusing on the individuals. But you are a masterclass in LinkedIn, so you've got to give us some tips and give the audience some tips on what to do, how to make yourself shine and stand out.
I've never done a crash course on LinkedIn or, I haven't done any kind of management training on social media. For me, in all honesty, Julia, it's about consistency and authenticity. I've been posting daily, I think since 2009.
Are you daily?
And that's a lot of work and effort, right? That goes.
Oh my God.
And it's not posting for the sake of posting. I've always posted through the optics of I'm a salesperson or a marketeer in an ad tech company. And I myself are going through my own struggles and challenges. I'm increasingly finding myself in an industry that is about data. It's about ad operations. It's about product. These are all areas that aren't necessarily core competencies for me. I'm a salesperson. I'm great at telling stories and building relationships. So I've always been posting educational videos or writing blogs, explainers, like the one that I published last night on agentic models in CTV. And I write them through, again, the optics of somebody else in a similar position to me in an ad tech company trying to figure all of this out. And I think that's what's really resonated with the people that follow me on LinkedIn. It's not a hard sell. I'm not trying to convince somebody to buy my inventory or the SSP or DSP that I've worked for. It's about providing authentic educational insights that they're going to learn from. And ultimately, that's generated a lot of business for me over the years because then people actually feel that they can approach me to ask questions or to come in and help train their teams. And a byproduct of that has been a halo effect for the companies that I've represented. So it's a form of educational soft selling without hard pitching daily, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And a masterclass in authenticity. I think that's the resounding point where, like you said, Paul, you haven't had instructions or guidance on any of it, but you go out there, and to Julia's point about your audience and the engagement that you get on those posts, it's down to them knowing that it's genuinely you sat there just sharing your thoughts, which obviously goes a long way.
Also, to the point around the polls, Julia, those polls, I ordinarily publish all of the findings as well at the end of the year. So again, purpose of those really is just to help educate everyone else in the market to figure out what's going on in this space. And I think that's why, again, they're so well kind of received, because everyone can see the data, it all gets shared. And again, there's no real kind of commercial agenda behind them.
I think it's true. And actually, I mean, we've just launched adtechjuice.com, which was the purpose of doing nothing more than being an adtech uni, a learning resource for people to go in. And the reason is we're veterans, Paul. I'm putting myself in that camp very firmly. But it's hard staying on top and staying in touch and understanding everything. But you have to pretend to know everything. We have to know everything. So actually providing those, even your polls or whether it's AdTech Juice, you can go very quietly and gen up on what you don't know, and become masters and allow it to be accessible. So I'm with you on that. And yeah, I think it's educational. I think using it so is a good thing.
I want to quickly take a step back very quickly though, and just while you were talking about all of your different previous roles and especially those challenges and new launches in the UK, it seems that across all of these, you're in the lovely position of always being in demand because you're very good at what you do. But when you choose a company, is there anything specifically that you're looking for? Do they, have to do anything to grab your attention? And how do you ultimately say, this is where I'm going to take my talents?
For me, whenever I've joined a new company, it's a combination of factors. It's, do I believe in the product? Again, because it comes down to telling stories. Can I sit in a room and convince a bunch of strangers who I've never met before the product that I represent is going to actually deliver them with tangible outcomes? So I really have to genuinely believe in the product that's being built. Secondary to that is the team. Is there a passion from the team? Are the team passionate about what they're doing? So that they're really the two factors for me. It's do I believe in it? And is the team passionate about what they're doing on a daily basis? Because we spend so much time now with our colleagues and we're all under immense pressure to deliver growth. Everybody has to be on the same journey. So for me, it's about product and team.
I love that. Really clear and simple. Before we pressed record on this, we were talking a little bit about all the events that we've been attending and everything that's coming up. It's been a busy time for it. And you particularly are very present around events and on stage. What is your view on how important a role events play, and how do you grab attention from the organizers that gets you that spot on stage?
It's a difficult one, right? I mean, I'm good buddies with lots of the event organizers in the UK.
That helps.
I don't mean for speaking, I mean for understanding the pressures that they're under. So historically, years ago, I thought it was that easy, right? You became a buddy with somebody at the Wire or whatever event it may be, the IAB, and you'd get a spot on the panel. That's absolutely not the case anymore. They're all run as businesses, and rightly so. That's how they make their living, right? I make my living selling ad space and CTV ad breaks. These companies make their living via their editorial content and the big events that they put on to help educate all of us in this industry. So I think it's absolutely right that they charge ad tech vendors. I think if a company has genuinely built something groundbreaking, or they've developed a new piece of AI or agentic software that the whole market wants to learn more about, then I think absolutely there could be an earned opportunity where somebody's up on stage speaking without having to pay to play. But I think if you're just up on stage, or you want to be up on stage telling the story of an SSP or a DSP or another DMP, then fundamentally you should be in a position, or your company should be in a position to have the marketing budget to pay and to support these event organizers. Because again, they're not doing it for free. They're in the business of making money, and they're great events. And without those events, I think all of us in the industry would struggle, because that's where so much networking happens. That's where so much learning happens. So I think it's important for all of us and our marketing teams to continue to support local event organisers in the UK.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I think what's happening is then I think people aren't necessarily, if it's pay to play, and you're going, and if you pay the money as an ad tech company to get on stage, you have a right to be self-serving, and you've earned that right. So the sessions that are produced tend to be self-serving. So therefore, the audience aren't willing to pay the money to go to that because they're going to listen to a load of content that's just about those products. So two things are happening. One, ad tech companies who've got interesting things to say about the challenges the industry is facing. I'd love to see them being given the opportunity to pitch for a session that was nothing to do with their product, but was about something interesting. That's the first part. And the second part is, I agree, I want the event organizers to earn their money to make these events happen. But if there's really strong and interesting content on stage and it hasn't been paid for, would we pay a higher ticket price to go to it? Question for you, Paul. What do you reckon? Is that a solution?
It's a tricky one. I agree, Julia, to a certain extent, but then I think that's the role of a good event organizer, right? It's to curate, even if, yeah, to curate a balance of conversation and topics and diversity. Even if the majority of people up on stage are paying, I still think it's possible for a good event organizer and a good moderator to curate a good experience for those paying. I love your idea around giving somebody the ability to pitch who might not have the marketing budget. That's fantastic. I completely agree with that, and I think we should see more of that. Again, I just understand the financial pressures that some of the event organisers are under. So it can be quite easy to say that everyone up there should be up there because they're the best people to speak on a subject or it's earned. But again, it's running events. It's not a cheap thing to do for these companies.
No, I hear you. I'd just love to see a startup slot and you get to earn your slot on the startup slot. I'm pushing that out there. I've just come up with that now. Just one per event, one startup slot. You've heard it here first. I'm going to take it to the organizers.
That would be epic.
I want to dive into some hot takes and predictions. CTV, we've talked about you grabbing attention, Paul, but CTV is grabbing all the attention right now, as well as budgets from other sectors. What are your thoughts on where CTV is at right now, and where do you think it's headed in the future?
Good question. I think we're at a very exciting point in the UK CTV market. There's several different strands of CTV inventory at the moment. That's how I look at it. You've got the broadcaster inventory coming from the BVOD players. You've got a lot of the fast inventory that's predominantly coming from the big TV manufacturers themselves. And then you've got a lot of the premium AVOD that's coming from apps like Tubi that recently launched in the UK. If you're an agency today, you're probably buying each of those different types of CTV in slightly different ways. One, you'll be buying like traditional TV and measuring with Barb. Another one you might be buying in a digital way, and another type you might be buying in a programmatic way through a DSP. I think we're quickly moving to a point in time where those on the buy side can start buying a little bit more holistically, so they can measure audiences across all types of TV, regardless of not if it's BVOD, fast, or AVOD.
If you were to do a poll that would be the hot takes and predictions for the industry, say, what would you be able to list 3 or 4 things that you think people vote, and then rough predictions? God, I'm putting you on the spot. It's not even my quick fire round yet.
I would go around the fact that I genuinely think that all ad-supported TV inventory, even from broadcasters, will be accessible via demand-side platforms, SSPs, and ad servers within 5 years. Now, whenever I have that conversation with people in the industry, sometimes I'm laughed at. But if you look at the direction of travel today from UK broadcasters, Channel 4 doing amazing things in the programmatic space, Sky are doing the same, Netflix, Amazon, Tubi. I think we're quickly racing towards a point in time when broadcasters open up their inventory in a very controlled way and let those on the buy side access it in a way that they want to access it. And predominantly that's through platforms like DSPs.
So your poll would be, and would it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 years the broadcasters will open up their inventory?
Correct. In a controlled way, though, right, Julia? I don't mean like race to the bottom. And
I'm so bring that poll before you do.
And another one would probably be around shoppable or branding versus DR. Historically, television, linear TV has been fantastic at delivering upper funnel brand messages. Yes, direct response has existed in TV for a number of years. You've had the insurance telephone numbers. But I think, again, we're moving towards a point in time over the next 5 years where every TV campaign will have some type of performance-related metric baked into it. The agency, the publisher, everyone will be looking at the outcomes that that particular creative drove in some type of way. So I think we're moving to a point in time where, when it comes to television, branding and performance or DR, that those worlds are starting to converge. So another question, Julia, would be, Will we still have definitions around branding and DR for TV in 10 years, or will it just be a TV campaign?
Got it. Love that. Okay, it'd be you or me to do it first.
I mean, that's another one where everyone will say, "Don't be ridiculous, Paul. You'll always have a
That's
bundle
why I
of."
want you to go first.
Final poll then from me, but I'm curious to know, Paul, what areas of the industry would you say aren't going to perform this year?
Aren't going to perform? That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that one, in all honesty. I'd rather focus on what is going to perform, but
I know that's why we don't ask the easy questions, Paul. We didn't say this was going to be.
Yeah.
if I was pushed, I would say, look, agencies have made no secret of the fact that they want to get as close to the publisher as possible. They don't want to buy through 101 different intermediaries on adding value. Demand side platforms now want to get as close to the source of inventory as possible. So I think we're already moving in that direction very quickly, but agencies want to work with partners who are transparent. They can add meaningful value either via first or third party data. They can add meaningful value via identity and other types of signals. I think if you're trying to sell to agencies and brands today and your value prop is not clear, or you're not transparent, or you're not adding value that the buyer couldn't get from the source of inventory directly, it's going to become increasingly difficult for those types of companies. They've existed very well for a number of years, but the market's kind of evolving around that model now.
100%. You've got to prove your value, show your value, and keep it, and differentiate. You have reached the point of no return, Paul. You're in my quick fire round. Let's go. Here you go.
Go on. Have we seen these questions? Have they been approved?
I don't care.
There's no approval with the quick fire round.
For that, I might chuck a curveball in. I'll see how mean I'm feeling. What's the one ad tech concept that still stumps you or stumped you the most?
Deal ID troubleshooting. You can have a fantastic conversation with a buyer. Everything could be lined up. You go home happy on a Friday. You come in Monday. Nothing's been spent. No one understands why. It takes an eternity to fix. There must be an easier way in our industry to figure out why deal IDs keep breaking and how to fix them.
Exactly. There is some answers to that I've seen, but people have to go and search for them. Paul, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Be honest, be humble, be genuine.
Perfect. Love it. Mine's be bold, be brave, be you. So similar strain. Favorite innovation in digital publishing right now? You came from a publishing world. What's the favorite innovation in digital publishing right now?
I think all of the exciting stuff that's going on around agentic modeling, companies like Scope3 are doing some fantastic things at the moment to help publishers, specifically around unlocking some of the value of their inventory and making sure that their inventory isn't overly being blocked by some of the tools that have historically existed.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so one, I don't know how you're going to pick just one, but a word or phrase you'd love to see banned from ad tech meetings.
OTT, over the top. It served a purpose 8 years ago, but I think the market's evolved now, and the majority of TV is delivered via the household IP. So I'd rather just call it CTV.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's a good one. In 3 words, what makes a trend stick?
What makes a trend stick?
Yeah.
3 words.
Yeah, no, I don't make it easy.
That's a hard one.
Consistency, relevancy, and timely.
Yeah, I think it's a really hard one because the people have gone, if you say that to some people, it's like, you want to go, it performs, it works. And they're like, no, that's 4. So maybe we make it really hard. Good work, good use of those. Okay, final one. Who's your ad tech legend and who would you love to see on Legends of Adtech in the future? They could be 2. You might have an ad tech legend, but you don't necessarily want to see them on this podcast, or is it one and the same?
Chap called Mark Giblin. I don't know if you know him, Julia, but I used to work with him at PubMatic. I then worked with him again at Unruly, the company that's now called Nexxen. He left to launch a CTV planning business called Lightbox TV with a chap called Dean Cussell. And basically, Mark has been my kind of behind the scenes sense check on almost everything I've done for the last 10 years. If I get stumped on an ad tech hypothesis, I call Mark. If I want to better understand something super intelligent, I call Mark. And seeing what they've done at Lightbox TV and the capabilities that they're building to help agencies better plan TV campaigns is A, super impressive, and B, he's just been a great support to me over the years. So I'd probably say Mark. He's one of those people that you don't often see on panels or in the trade press.
No, even more reason why we could get him on there. If he's a legend to you, then I'm sure then he comes well qualified. Thank you so much, Paul. And I've just written a few notes on what you said, the standouts to me. And I've got to pick on the use of LinkedIn. You know, you've got to lean in, you've got to be consistent, be authentic, and be active on there. There's an expectation. CTV is without doubt one of the hot trends, if not the hottest happening right now. We're expecting to see broadcasters open up their inventory, and that will have a big impact. And we're moving to a point where every TV campaign will have performance baked into it. So it's a really exciting space to be in it. And that's just some nuggets that Paul has imparted today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Paul, so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Paul. That is a wrap on this episode of Legends of Adtech, but be sure to check out the description for ways to connect with Paul and subscribe to never miss an episode.
Again, thank you, Paul. You've been a pleasure, as I knew you would.
Well, no, thank you for having me. Appreciated.
Thank you. And you've definitely earned your place in the AdTech Hall of Fame. And if you're wondering what just happened or what is happening in AdTech, head over to our brand new website, adtechjuice.com, for the juiciest industry takes and the industry knowledge refresh.
Yes. And if you loved today's conversation, please rate, review, and share the episode. It helps us keep the AdTech wisdom flowing, and hit that follow button so you don't miss a single legend. Until next time, keep it juicy.
You've been listening to Legends of Adtech, a podcast by AdTech Juice. New episodes drop every 2 weeks, bringing you closer to the pioneers, disruptors, and game changers shaping the future of digital advertising. Stay connected at adtechjuice.com and be sure to follow us on LinkedIn for even more industry know-how.